So today is going to be a really short cycle. And it worked out. Thankfully, it worked out um, because I ended up having to make a short last minute trip out of town. And today's question is one that I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time on. You do need to spend some time thinking about it, but I don't want you to get stuck on it. And the reason is today, we're talking about what some people refer to as defanging the monster, but I like to more lovingly refer to it as shaving the big hairy beast. And you can thank my sister for that because when I was younger, she told me that I was like the big red hairy monster from Bugs Bunny. Because when I got mad, and of course I had red hair. So my sister said I was like the big red hairy monster. And, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, big red hairy monsters are scary till you shave them and then they're bald and then they're just these naked chickens, right? So today we're going to be talking about your worst day, the worst day you've had. And I want you to write it up in your journal as a culmination. Like add it up. Say, my absolute worst day looks like this. This is what happens. This is how I feel. These are the people in my life or in my day that make that the worst day. These are the occurrences that happen. And the reason that we're talking about this, and I only want you to reflect on it just for these 24 hours. That's it. I want you to talk about it in your journal. I want you to write down the things that make a really bad day for you. What causes you sensory overload? What are some things that have happened in your past that have made it a really bad day? I want you to talk about where you were, how it affected you, and how you felt, as well as how you responded. What physically happened to you? I want you to think about what did your body tell you? What reactions? Did your stomach get sick? Did your heart race? Did you sweat? And this can be anything. It's whatever you define as a bad day. And after you do that, I want you to take the next step. And the next step is shaving all the hair off the big, hairy, red, scary monster. And you have the sort of naked chicken, right? It's hard to be scared of a naked chicken. They're really funny looking. And I want you to do that by reflecting on where you are now. You've made it. You've survived it. You've overcome it. You've dealt with it. You've handled it in some way to make it here today. And as you stand here and you reflect and you look at your journal entries and you're thinking and remembering what those really bad days were, what those bad events or occurrences were, I want you to write 3 things that you learned from those experiences. 3 things that helped you grow. 3 things that got you here. What did you do? How did you think about it? What happened afterward that you're here today? Because you, my friend, are your own hero. And you're my hero because you are here and you did make it through those really awful days. We're still here and we've overcome a tremendous amount. And it's very easy to get caught up in the bad things that happen sometimes. And I don't even like to quantify it as bad, but the challenging things that happen in our lives, the things that really push us outside of our comfort zone, and the things that we just don't have control over that impact us. And we're still here. And we haven't gone anywhere. And you're here today with me, looking to grow, looking to get a different perspective on your life as an adult autistic, late identified, that it changes a lot of things. And where you are today isn't where you were 5 years ago. And it's absolutely not going to be where you are 5 years from now. We so often ask ourselves, who are we? And that's a big part of what we're doing this summer in the 12-week challenge is we're uncovering and discovering who we are. But there's another element to it that we're also going to talk about, and that's what we are. We're wired differently, and we have incredible gifts. And I had this just amazing conversation today with a woman that I'm going to share our interview with you here in the next week or so. And she made such a wonderful point today. She said, for most of us who are 40 and over, and we are lucky enough to get a diagnosis, she said, you have to be really resilient. You have to be really ready because the report, when you get it, it doesn't tell you anything about all the wonderful things that you are and that you can do. It tells you where you need help, where you're going to be challenged. And I agree with my friend. And we're going to be talking about, sure, we know we have challenges. We know it better than anybody else. There isn't somebody on the other side of the table that can give us a piece of paper and define what our challenges are better than we can. But I think one of the big conversations we have to have is about the positives, about the things that we do that nobody else does like we do. We think about a million things at one time. We see a bigger picture and can boil it down into the small action steps that it takes to get there. We do that better than anybody else. And that's just one of the things we do. So I'd like you to stop and I'd like you to reflect on what is your worst day? What is a bad day like for you? And then I want you to write those 3 things that you learned, the 3 things that you grew from, and where you became this incredible person that you are today and how you survived to make it here today. Friday morning, Friday around lunchtime, I'll have the 3rd video out. So I don't want you to spend a lot of time on this. Just spend 24 hours. That's it. That's all you get. That's all you need. Because we don't want to get stuck on the things that loop in our head about what a bad day is, but we do want to look at it. And the reason is you've overcome it. You've come out on the other side of it, and you're still here. So anything that happens after that, you got this. You got this. And those 3 things that you write down to talk about why you're still here after all that, that's pretty big. And I want you to be proud of yourself. I want you to recognize it. And that's part of why we're doing this exercise. We don't want to look at the stuff that's uncomfortable, the things that are scary, the things that made us feel really horrible. But when we do, because we are courageous and brave, when we do, we see it differently. We see it as a learning experience. We see it for what it is. Maybe it was just a really awful thing. But we're still here. And that makes it pretty amazing. Because no matter what it was, who it was, or how it was, you overcame it. You survived it. And you're here. And that's a lot to be grateful for. So take these 24 hours, think about that day, but also think about those 3 things, those big things. Friday, we're going to be talking about a critical point on this journey. We're going to be talking about energy. And I know it sounds really simple, but there's a lot to it. And we're going to break it down into those bite-sized chunks. Have a great Thursday. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys on Friday.